There you
go. We are going to run through tasks first, and then we're going to talk about the deal pipeline, and then we're going to jump into the actual system and just make sure that everybody is aware of how to get that set up and kind of how to use the functionality of that portion of it. So, how do you manage your tasks? So, most of the time when you're working with clients, you have kind of like a checklist, and some people, use their memory to remember everything. Some people put it onto an actual checklist. With BOOJ, you're going to be able to actually create a task checklist and assign it to people or a process. And so we're going to dive into all of that today. So types of tasks. You can create tasks specific to a contact that's in your CRM. You can create tasks specific to a deal. So maybe once something goes under contract and you're working with a buyer, certain steps will follow. And then, of course, you can do personal tasks, and that would be more of reminders to yourself. So for those of you that like to read through the PowerPoints later, we have them broken down here for you. But with all tasks, you're able to select a due date and a priority level so that you can kind of keep yourself on track. So maybe you have a bunch of stuff on your task list just because you like to see it written out, you like to cross things off of your list. You can essentially assign priority levels and due dates so that if one maybe isn't a super high priority, you can keep it on your list and eventually accomplish it, but at least you'll know that it's not life or death if you don't get through it. So, and if you work on a team, of course, I know this is the team session, you can actually assign certain tasks from your task plans to team members. Or if you have an assistant that has a Remax account and a BOOJ CRM, you can assign certain tasks to them as well.
Yeah, and there should be also the idea that triggers will be able to assign, will essentially be able to assign things to team members. So like, let's say a certain event occurs that you think that maybe you have a buyer lead that turns into a contact, and at that point you no longer want them to be receiving, I don't know, a newsletter or something like that. It will trigger an assignment to your buyer agent per se, and you're on your team or something like that. So that's something else that's available.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get into all that once we dive into the system so you guys can see how to set that up specific to you. So when we jump into the system, the first thing that we're going to do, of course, is go to your task settings, and we'll walk through it, but just for those of you that like the PowerPoint, there's a little note on it. So in the task settings, you're going to be able to set your notifications, you're going to be able to edit and customize and create your own task plans. So there's some task plans that are already in your account if you've noticed, and you can essentially go in, edit them, add in additional tasks if you want to, or even delete tasks if it doesn't really apply to your business. And then also within the settings, you're going to be able to set up what Al was just talking about, the triggered task plan. So things that would happen automatically based off of maybe a contact goes under contract on something, and then right then it's automatically triggered that next task plan is set into place.
Right.
It's really hard to say task multiple times. So I can butcher that.
On this particular slide, you're trying to follow along at home. Step one is to click on the avatar in the top right. And then when you do that, you'll have a settings page there you can click into. And then on the left, you can click on the hamburger and choose task and start looking at some of the settings inside there.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you may have some of this functionality right now. Some of it may still be coming, and then some of it may just not be working because BOOJ is still launching all of these updates. So we're hoping that by the end of this week, they'll be done with this massive update. But eventually, you should have all of this functionality that's on this slide. So you'll be able to leave comments for your tasks. You'll be able to set notifications, so like reminders. If stuff is upcoming, you'll be able to assign the team members different tasks, things of that nature. So if you don't have all this functionality, it should be coming soon. And again, if you do have it and it's just not working, we'll just give it a few more days until we start raising hell.
I think, and we're about to talk about it in I think maybe even the next slide, but you can also see on the screenshot that there is a syncing with a transaction management system. Hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months, SkySlope will be syncing there so that you don't have to transfer your data over manually in SkySlope. So that would be kind of cool as well.
Mm-hmm. And so just as a fun reminder, I mean, I know you guys like to hear us talk, but if you don't want to commit an entire hour to running through trainings, Remax University has a bunch of like little mini tutorials on how to do different aspects within the task plan. So they've added a bunch of these since we first started doing our trainings. So if you want like an overview, they have a 4-minute video. If you want how to learn more on how to set up your automated task plans, they have a 3-minute and 53-second video. So they are actually really helpful. So I just encourage you to check them out on Remax University within Max Center. And there should be a little BOOJ tile or button at the very left bottom corner once you get into Remax University that will lead you to all these. But of course, if you have questions, just let us know. Okay, so events is also kind of, it somewhat falls in line with tasks. So you are going to be able to schedule events through your CRM. So when we're talking about events, maybe we're talking about inspections, closings, your final walkthrough, anything of that nature, you'll be able to schedule them in your CRM. You can link them to a contact, to a deal, or of course just do a personal event if you have something going on that you want tracked in your account as well. So we are going to talk, I think on the next slide, about eventually, you will be having full integration with Gmail, Outlook, iCloud, all of that. So the events that you're putting into your CRM, so these events here on the left, they will show up on your calendar within your CRM, and they'll also show up on your calendar within your email. So you should be almost fully integrated with that, because remember last week we talked about the messaging with the email when you're emailing contacts directly from your CRM. Eventually that will also be tracked and linked to your personal email.
Yeah,
account.
and I guess it's important to note, and I think we talked about it a little bit last week, and I think I'm going to repeat it now because I think it's important, is that you're going to want to download the mobile app so that you are emailing from within the CRM app, and it'll be integrated with your Gmail, whatever email you use, so that the CRM can track and keep all communications between you and a contact and a lead in one place. If you're doing your emailing from one spot, like from your Gmail app, then it's not going to it's not going to associate that email with the lead or contact. Mm-hmm. So you want to start getting in the habit, once this kicks in, is to be using your CRM app so it captures the full breadth of your communication with a client, contact, lead, whatever you want to call them, all in one spot. I think it's also kind of cool if you look at the screenshot that you can actually set what type of notification as you add the event manually into the CRM, right? So you can have the CRM app tell you. You could also have it send you an email. You can do a couple of different things. So I think that's going to be a pretty neat little integration. But just you want to be kind of conscious as you're getting more and more into this platform, is to start using the full breadth of the platform, because you're going to miss out on some extremely important features if you're not using the mobile app, especially on your phone.
Mm-hmm. So also with creating events, if you look at the little screenshot of the computer on the left side, you can add guests, or you can invite people to the event as well. So you just enter in their email address and then make sure you click that send invite upon save button. And you can obviously create the event, and then once you finalize all the details, maybe for like a closing, for example, you can put them in there, and then you can always send the invite out later. But just wanted to point that out because we had a few agents that were creating events and adding people, but it wasn't sending them invitations. So any questions so far on what we've covered with events and the tasks? Everything sounds good. We'll keep rolling. Okay, so again, we just touched on this, but you have the option of looking at your events and things in a kind of calendar view on the left, and then you also have it more in an agenda view. So if you just want like a straight up list of everything that you have going on, similar to when we were working on websites, you have the grid and the list view. You can do the same thing with your events and your calendar.
Yeah, and then I guess the other thing, since we're doing team-centric conversation today, is that as a team lead, if you look on the left side, you'll be able to see exactly what the agenda is that your team members are working on that day. So are they going to be at an open house? Are they going to a closing? Are they meeting with a buyer? I mean, all that kind of things. Are that, it'll all be able to be captured there, and you'll be able to see what everyone's up to. So this will be also a good place for you to keep up with all the activities that your team is performing and everything, and knowing where everybody is. It's kind of neat. I hadn't seen that one yet.
All right, so we're gonna hop into deals now. So this is just a quick screenshot as far as your deals in a contact view. So you have a few different ways of looking at the deals. You have your deal pipeline, which we'll talk about in just a second, but you also can pull up your individual contacts, view your current open deals and previously closed deals, so that if you wanted to say, hey, I want to rank all my clients based off of the the number of deals that they've sent me or the commission that I've made off of them, this would be a good way for you to track that contact and all of the transactions that you've processed with them. You can, of course, add details for each deal, even previous deals that you closed out before you had the CRM. And then, so the deal management, you're going to be able to set up task plans based off of deals. You're going to be able to create seller reports, which we have not, I believe, gotten access to yet. And then, of course, we talked about transaction management integration is coming soon. And then, of course, the deal manager will just kind of keep you on track. So this is a screenshot of your deals tab or your deal pipeline. So essentially, you have 4 different buckets. You have prospect, you have active, pending, and closed. So you can go in, you can create different deals within this little pipeline, and you can actually drag and drop them into different stages as they move forward within the process. Likewise, if it falls through, we'll show you how you can drag and drop that into the fall through bucket, but hopefully you guys won't have to deal with that too much.
Right, and then you also, as you drag them through this life cycle, I guess, the task plans can change and update, like, okay, this has gone active now, so you'll have a new task plan, and then you'll obviously be able to add manual tasks to it as well.
Mm-hmm. And then you also, similar to the contacts and deals section that we talked about last week, you'll be able to filter your pipeline. You can filter it in the pipeline view or the list view, and then you can also go through and filter out any different stages if you wanted to focus maybe just on your prospects if you're doing kind of a marketing push. You can also go through and look at the different participants, the dates on there. I mean, whatever that you want to do, you can do that. I also want to point out, and we'll point out again once we get into the system, there are 2 views of the pipeline. So you'll have a list pipeline, so all of your sellers, and then you'll also have a buyer's pipeline. So for instance, we on Monday added in a contact and created a deal for them, and we just thought we were losing our minds, and we're cursing BOOJ, but then we realized that we were just looking at the wrong pipeline. So something to keep in mind, and we'll show you how to kind of switch back and forth once we jump into the system, but it's nice to have all this filter options.
Yeah, and I guess, sorry, and the last thing I'll add here, again, is going back to that team concept. You can go in and you can look at the pipeline for any of your team members and see where they are, see that they're hitting their tasks for a particular transaction, all that kind of stuff. So again, if your focus is on kind of the activity that your team members are doing and kind of checking on behavior and all that kind of stuff, you can use this as well. So.
All right, and this is just an example of the pipeline, but in list view. So again, if you're just more of a list person, you can filter it this way. And of course, all of these different columns here, so like name, type, primary participant, you can filter out whatever works best for you. So if you want to focus just on their name and GCI, you can filter it that way if you want to. And then, of course, on the right, it's tracking all of the tasks associated with that deal and then all of the events that you have with that deal.
Sure. And then again, kind of to hop on what Sarah said, you can also save all these different filters and views so that if there's a particular set of details that you want to always filter through or anything like, you can save that and just pull it back up anytime you need it so you don't have to continue to do this. Again, whether that's at your agent level or if it's a certain target price that you want to focus on, like all my high-end listings, how are they going, all that kind of stuff. You can always save that and just have it kind of sitting up there in your saved views, ready for you to take a quick look at it, so you don't have to do it all over again. And I also think that's cool here is that you can actually see the 3 different types of views. You can see from an all, list, and buy at the top there. I think it's a little clearer here what's available to you. If you have them on all, obviously both types of transactions, and then list buy if you want to break it down that way.
And I mean, I think you can think about this more than just something that's tracking your deals. So, I mean, I know the holidays are coming up, so if you have all of your transactions in here, right, you could go through and filter out all of your closed transactions, and you could break it down by price point. So if you wanted to send gifts and maybe different level gifts based off of, you know, the client and maybe how many homes that they bought or sold with you this year, or the price point of their home, you could literally go through here and filter out all of the closed transactions and break them down by price. And then you have all of their contact information in here, so you could email them a thank you, or a happy holidays, you could mail them a happy holidays postcard. I mean, it's more than just a deal pipeline. So I mean, if you want to think about it in that way, just throwing it out there. We lost Al.
Okay.
All right, and so we did also talk about transaction management integration. So when you are creating these deals in your CRM, eventually, and we're told SkySlope is pretty much next on the list, but eventually you'll be able to just link it to SkySlope, so you're not having to do dual input of the property information, your contact information, things of that nature. So it's going to be pretty sweet. And of course, once that goes live, we'll have more training so that we can keep you guys in the loop with it. So before we jump live into the actual system, does anybody have any questions? Waynesville, Wilmington, all of our friends here in Charlotte. That was a joke.
Who else? You have a third attendee. I wonder who that is. Chuck?
Me? It's us. All right, so we're going to jump live into the system. So for those of you that have your computers, if you want to go ahead and, okay, sorry. What is this one? Here we go. So I am in an agent's account who is also a team leader. So first things first, we are going to go up to our avatar in the top right. So click on the avatar and then click on settings. And it should bring you to this screen. So obviously this has nothing to do with tasks. So we're going to go over to the left and click on the hamburger next to settings pages and go down to tasks. Okay, so I'm going to start with task notifications just because it's at the top of the list. Thank you. And this is where you can update any of your preferences as far as being notified on tasks. So if a task is assigned to you, so team members, this might be important so that you don't get in trouble with your team leader. And then if you are exporting your tasks, you can update your notifications on that. That one I'm not super sure why. But this is your notification section. Beneath that is your task plans. So you'll notice there are 4 task plans in here right now. So these are the ones that BOOJ created for you. So let's just hop into one so you can see it. So we're going to hop into the buyer close task plan. And you can pretty much edit everything about this. So if you didn't like that name for whatever reason, if you wanted to add in additional tasks when this person is in the prospect or active stage. But of course, this is a buyer close task plan. So you're probably just going to want to deal with the pending, so when they're under contract, right? Their pending stages and their closed stages. So what we are looking at here, so when your prospect, or I guess when your client goes into the next stage that falls, what? Help me here.
Yeah, so if you scroll back up a little bit, day 0 obviously is when you send out all their paperwork, and then after that it goes on a 1-2 day basis. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah.
According to the day 0. So this is actually, if anybody does any kind of stock trading, this is how they actually count days as well. They go day 0, and then they go +1, +2, +3. So I guess kind of using that same thought process on how deals are agreed to. Day 0 is the day they sign the deal, and then everything after that is 1 day plus. Okay, so kind of a different way to think about it, but it makes some sense when you kind of think of the day someone signs something actually doesn't count as a day in the actual process outside of them kicking off the process.
Mm-hmm.
So that explains the day 1s and 2s and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. So these tasks are the ones that are going to go into effect when someone goes under contract. So when you move them into that deal pipeline status. And then if this, for example, maybe suspend client from BOOJ save searches doesn't really fit with what you want to do. So you can actually come in here and you can hit the edit button. You can edit what the task is. You can change the day offset. So maybe you don't want to do that until day 4 or whatever. So you would go to day offset 3, remember, because 0 is 1. And then you can also alter the stage as well.
So you don't change it on this.
I know. And then you can also enter in a description. So if you want to keep your task itself short, so suspend client from BOOJ, you could put in more details about what that task actually entails. If you wanted to just straight up delete it, you can hit the trash can button over here and it will just delete this entire task from your task plan. Any questions on like how to edit the task, how to add in a new task? If you want to add something in here that's not already in this set task plan, top right, and then you just, same concept as before, create that task. Cool.
Let's see, on the day offset, when you go back to add task, what's it say there? That doesn't help at all.
No.
Fascinating.
And then, of course, I guess we talked about priority briefly, but low, medium, high, and you can track that here, and it will also show up with your task there. So.
Yeah, so those are the 4, I think they have 4 task templates. Again, you can make any changes to these if there's something you don't see or you want to add or remove. Please feel free to customize them to how you do your business, obviously.
So like for me, for this one, this title doesn't really make sense. That's why I was getting thrown off, like buy or close. The tasks that they've set up are actually for someone that's under contract and then also when they close. So maybe to make more sense of it, you would change the title. But again, totally up to you. This is you guys and your CRM, so you customize this to however works best for you. You can also create a copy, so maybe if you wanted to keep the majority of the tasks the same but change a few things, you can create a copy of it and then of course go through and edit your different tasks. And that's up here on the right under actions. Cool. I'm assuming this send will eventually allow you to share this with team members and the sort. Okay, so on the left side, we're going to jump down to task plan automations. So this is where you can set up your triggered task plans. So let's say if you wanted something to happen automatically. So maybe your contact becomes a prospect. So they move on from just telling you, hey, I'm interested in looking at homes, and they actually are actively looking at homes. And you're driving around and you're looking for something, but you don't maybe have a home that they're interested in purchasing yet. You can create a triggered task plan for when you move them from just a contact in your CRM to actually an active deal in prospect status. So up here on the top right, you can hit add automation. You can select your entity. So, right, we talked about doing a contact, and then I'm assuming this will get fixed. I just added to, there we go. You would add it to whatever task plan you wanted. So if you had a task plan that was set up for new prospects, you would essentially hit new prospect task plan.
Yeah, and my assumption is you're going to have a lot more triggers than just added. Added is obviously very limited, but I think we'll be seeing, when the update is completed, we'll be seeing a bunch of options there for your triggers.
Yeah. So essentially, you'll be able to build this out, and of course, the more task plans you get, you'll have a whole list of task plans to choose from, and then like Al said, we'll have more trigger options, if you will. But You can set all of this up, and of course, as we get more information or maybe some more examples on how to set up the triggered task plans and maybe some really nice task plans that are kind of filled out correctly, we will share those with you, of course. Okay, so any questions on the settings so far? Cool. So we are going to go, I guess we'll first go back to the BOOJ main screen because I just want to point out a few things on here. So you do have your calendar up here in the top left. So as you kind of build out your task plans and you start assigning them to contacts or to deals, your calendar here is going to track any tasks that you have going on and also any events that you have scheduled. So you can also adjust the settings on here. So if you prefer just to see events on your calendar, you can click events, you can click tasks. I mean, whatever is easiest for you. You can look at it on a daily basis. You can look at it on a weekly or monthly basis. So I usually like to look at my calendar on a weekly basis to determine how much wine I'm going to have to drink that week. Just kidding. No one's listening. Okay, so that is your calendar here. You can also edit your widgets if you wanted to, and widgets are these individual boxes, but for now, these seem to be working okay for most people. I do also want to point out, since we're talking to mostly team leaders today, so this is a new functions and thing released this update last week. There is a drop down here. If you click on your role, so you can view from your personal, as a team leader, you can view your personal agent account. You can also view from a team leader account, which will give you access to your team members and different functionality. So just want to point that out. Everything should look pretty much the same. It'll just be who you're able to see versus just yourself, if that makes sense.
Will it change what the dashboard looks like, or is it still basic?
Yes, we'll see. Hope we don't break it. The dashboard and everything should still look the same.
Yeah.
Again, this will just fill up with your team members' stuff, and then you'll be able to track the deals and things from your team members and the campaigns and their websites that they're working on.
Right.
And then also when we finally get access, which we may have it now, so we can jump into this, but we may have access to the team websites under here as well. So team leaders, you will have to build out a team website. We'll have more information on that as we get it. But I'm going to hop back into just the individual agent account. And I'm going to go into contacts and leads. So remember when we were going through the PowerPoint, we had an opportunity to add a deal through the deal pipeline, or we also had an opportunity to add a deal to an individual contact. So again, I'm in an agent's account, so I don't want to mess it up too much, but I'm going to jump into this first contact here, and I'm going to go to the deals section. So Peter Ryan does not have any previous deals in this account, and he does not have any open deals in this account. But what you can do, and I'm not going to, is select Add Deal. I can click it, right, and it won't add it. Okay. And then you can name the deal whatever you want. So I would keep it very similar. Again, just to stay consistent to like when you're creating different transaction folders and zip forms. So if it's a buyer, I would call it by the buyer's name. If it's a listing, I would call it by the property, right? Because those are going to stay consistent. So you can put in the deal name at the top. This owner section is under you right now because you're in your individual agent account, but you should be able to assign different deals to different members of your team as well. And we'll try to get more information on.
So when you're on team lead view, you can probably do it.
Okay. You can also list if it's a buy or a list, a buy or sell deal. And of course you can automatically put it in. So if you have this contact and they go straight into active status, you can go ahead and switch it there. Or if you want to put it into pending status, depending on how you organize your pipeline. So let's put it into active. And then you can put in the price range, your percentage for your commission. So it tracks your GCI and then your expected close dates. You can also add, if Peter maybe has a spouse, you could add the spouse here so that those two contacts will link together for this specific deal. Pretty simple though. Does anyone? Oops. I'll answer that question in just a second, Deb. Does anyone have any questions on adding deals to an individual contact? Okay. So Deb did have a question. So she said it didn't look like team leads have contacts and leads. And so that is because the contacts and leads would be under the team members' accounts. And so team leaders have the opportunity to, in their agent accounts, share a contact with a team member, but they don't necessarily get to go in and like view the team members' database.
Right, and also from a team perspective, you are going to have obviously a list of like leads, contacts, or whatever that do come into at the team level. But in this particular account, they haven't uploaded anything at the team level. But you will have a set of team leads and contacts, and then you can, and then again, like we've mentioned previously, certain triggers or events or whatnot can automatically be set up so that if a lead goes from being a lead or a prospect into actually being a contact, it can be automatically signed up to team members, et cetera, et cetera. So you will at the team level have your own contact lists. I think for this example, we just haven't had this particular agent set anything up at the team level yet. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and as far as contacts, so the team leader, they have this, and that's the account that we're in right now. We're in the team leader and their personal database, right? So they can, if they're the one receiving all the leads, they can share a contact with their team member, and that contact will show up in the team member CRM and also the team leader CRM. And so they have the opportunity then to decide, do I want to fully share this contact? Or do I want to essentially, so that you can view all the updates, all the ongoing transactions and kind of communications with them, or do I want to essentially share that contact and then have them only see certain information on each end? So then if the team member wants to track all their communications but the team leader doesn't want to see it, and vice versa, you can set up that functionality as well. So there's not necessarily a separate, because if you think about it, this contacts and leads section, this is your CRM. So if they had another CRM just for the team leader side, or sorry, the team side, if you will, it would get a little repetitive. So they have one for the team leader, which is kind of their personal account, and then one for the team member, and then they have optional link it. Cool. All right, so we're on the same page. Sorry if that was too much info. Okay. So we went in, we added an individual deal based off of a contact. I did also want to show you while we were in there. So we're in this contact, and if you notice right here under the activities section, you can add events, you can add tasks, and you can apply task plans. So this is where, so an event, of course, would be if you're maybe meeting them for coffee or whatever. You can add that in here. If it's someone that's under contract, you can schedule closings. If you are just creating an individual single task for them, you can also do that here. So maybe you wanted to remind yourself to set them up on the search in the MLS. You can do that individual task for this person here. And then, of course, you can apply a task plan, and it just gives you a drop down of your task plans, or you can go to view them. And so then whatever you end up doing, of course, is tracked here. So you have overdue today, in the future, or not due yet. So if you have a task plan, you'll probably see a bunch of stuff in there. And then everything will also be tracked in your history as well. So if you complete tasks and they disappear from this front page, you can probably find them here under your history tab.
Yeah, I think that's probably even more useful when, again, this goes back to your question about team contacts and leads. This history will show you who is actually affecting the prospect profile. So like, let's say a couple of tasks disappeared and you're like confused. You can go in and see who's changed information on this profile, who's checked off task plan or task steps or whatever along the way, and so you'll always have an active history of kind of the interaction with every client.
Mm-hmm. And I think under the details tab, I was trying to see where exactly it was that you can share, but I think it might be back on the main. Oop. There we go. Okay, so on the main screen, you essentially click this little checkbox over here, and then you have the opportunity to share this contact. And these are the different options they have. So no team member will have access to it. Everyone in your team will have access to this contact. So maybe like if you had an attorney in there, you could share it that way. And then of course, only individual team members. I believe if you click that, yep. So team leader, if you have a contact that you want to share, you hit individual, and then you select, we haven't had this team leader set up their team yet, but you would select from the list as far as who your team members were. Sweet. Okay, so we are going to move over to the Deals tab up at the top. And it is going to bring you to your deal pipeline. So again, just kind of looking at the functionality of the deal pipeline, you have the pipeline view, and then you have the list view. So if you want to switch between those two, you can. You also have your list versus buy pipeline. Very important. You're probably not losing your mind. You're probably just on the wrong pipeline, or you haven't reset your filters. You can go through and filter by name, participants, hidden deals. So maybe closed deals. Maybe you want to hide them so that they're not bogging down your pipeline. You can, of course, go back and find those and filter just with the hidden deals.
If you go to list, does it give you an all option?
It only gives you yeah.
Will have all?
Yeah. So list lets you see all of them.
But in the graphical one, the pipeline, you can only see one or the other.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. Of course, you can save the views. So again, if maybe you're going through and you just want to see all of your closed hidden deals, you just click that, and then you can save the view. And as you add more deals to that, whatever falls within these credentials here will show up under that saved view. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, so if I want to add a deal directly onto my deal pipeline using this blue button at the top right, this should look exactly the same, other than the fact that you have to choose your primary contact instead of it already being filled out for you. But everything else about this is exactly the same. I don't want to add a deal to his account and break anything, but once you have a deal on your pipeline, you can actually click into it and add in more information about that deal. So if you wanted to put notes about the deal, if you wanted to edit anything about the deal, you can actually click into it and then fill out all that information. Likewise, if you have a deal on your screen, you should be able to click, was it right click or click on it, kind of in a blank spot, and then you can directly add tasks and task plans to that specific deal from this screen. So you don't have to like open up the whole deal and mess with that. You just click on it and add your task. And then of course, I wish we had a deal on here. So if you have your deal here, you should be able to hover over it, and then you'll see like a little forward pointing arrow. And once you see that arrow, you can hold on to it and click and move it to the next stage. So if any of you guys have your computers open and you have this with some deals in it, you can click and drag a deal to the next stage within the pipeline. And again, even cooler, if you have those triggered task plans set up, just by clicking and dragging, that's going to move that deal into the new task plan, and you don't have to do anything. So I think that is everything. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope. Yeah, I guess so. This is probably a good time again to repeat that there's a lot of updates going on right now. So hopefully here in the next 4 to 5 business days, we will see everything finally click on from the CRM side of things, and then quickly behind that, maybe a week after that, we see the client side of things go ahead and click on, and we'll be fully functioning. So I think kind of what that's an allusion to is that we're going to have a lot more to kind of talk about once we actually have the system up and live and running for you guys to actually kind of play around and see some of the features that are going to be available to you. But I think for the most part, you're going to be pleasantly surprised with some of the things you're going to be able to do, especially at the team level. Once the team websites are up and you have team leads and all that kind of stuff, and you can really organize all your deals through here all in one central spot. And again, to kind of reiterate, the CRM app is available already on Android and iPhone, so go ahead and download it, get yourself comfortable with it, and start thinking about how you're going to use that primarily for all your communications. You'll be able to text from it, you'll be able to email from it, and it will integrate with your phone texting and with your email. So then that way, when you're using the CRM app to do it, everything is captured underneath each client, prospect, lead, contact file. So just something to think about, because you definitely want to keep or take advantage of it all being in one spot, so you can share that with a team member or whatever, and not have to start forwarding a bunch of random emails from your Gmail account when it's time to make that transfer.
Mm-hmm. And again, now that this functionality here, especially as team leaders, is available, I would start exploring. So jump into the team leader side of things and see what kind of functionality you have access to. So again, you have deals, you have campaigns, you have your team website. Explore, let us know if you have questions, and we'll update you as soon as we know that the major update is done. All right, thanks guys.